Hey, what's up guys? Guardian here, coming guys with a deck profile update on my Undercover deck finally. Yeah, this deck got some really cool support from set 6. It just got one new card, but that new card is absolutely insane for this deck. It is so good, so yeah, let's get into the deck. So, I already kind of profiled this deck when I did my BCS coverage, so I won't go too much into the detail of the cards, but yeah, I'll give you like the general gist of what the deck does, but do check out that BCS video if you want a bit more detail there. But yeah, so for the ride line, of course, sticking to the Undercover ride line because it's really important for our grade 1 and grade 2 to be searching for the Monitored Tryst, which is the set order that we use to call our Undercover units to, so we can call them during the battle phase with Mordalion. So yeah. And also one of the really nice things with this deck is that because you're searching this, this card actually allows you to play it from the drop zone. So you can actually discard it when you're going into your grade 2 and your grade 3, since you start searching it from grade 1. So yeah, but we'll go into more into that when we get to the grade 2s. So we'll move past on from the ride line and go into the main deck. Alright, so for the main deck, of course, we have 3 extra copies of Mordalion. I think one of the reasons I really like this deck is I get a very Shadow Paladin Revenger theme from it, and I used to play Revengers back in Break Ride format. So yeah, it's got that sort of vibe to it. I think it's one of the reasons why I get into this deck so much. Anyway, so with Mordalion, of course, 3 effects. It gives 5k to all your undercover units when you've got 3 Monitored Trysts active, so really good for pressure in late game. Then we have the second skill, which allows you to Energy Blast 2, look at top 7, call 2 cards from among them to your Monitored Trysts are active, face down as undercover gauges. And then the third skill is a Counter Blast to call up to 2 cards from your undercover gauges that have undercover in their card names to the same column on your rearguard circle. So yeah, do remember that it is the column, so you have to call 2 things together basically. So typically for the most case, that's going to be like a 3 and a 2 with like a grade 1 for the booster, basically. So yeah. So that is it for Mordalion. So next we have 4 copies of Obscured, of course. This is basically our 4th attacker for the deck, really. Since he can basically attack from your back row center rearguard circle. He's also able to Soul Blast 1 to call himself out from the undercover gauge as well. So if you end up putting him down from in the undercover gauge, he can call himself out, since you kind of want to always have an Obscured in rotation to basically have the ability to not only have the extra attack, but also have the ability to use his third skill, which is when he attacks, if your opponent's a grade 3, you can Soul Blast, and then now he performs drive checks, but it is drive -1. So it is only 1 drive, but then he goes to the bottom of the deck. But even saying that, a 23k with a drive check, still kind of annoying, since you're going to hit 33 if you hit a trigger, so even if the guard for that, you can still break it, and it gets even more annoying when you have all 3 Monitored Trysts, because then he's going to be 28 with a drive check. So yeah, he becomes a bit of an annoying guy. Also do note, which is what I like to point out with this card, is if you have any spare copies of him, going around, you can always call him to your normal rearguard circles, since he gains that 10k just anywhere in the field. He doesn't have to be in the back row center. So he can be 23 in your front row rearguard and still hit good numbers. So yeah, he's just an all-round decent card, good unit. Your 4th attacker, brings drive checks, really good stuff. Now we'll go more into like the attack patterns of this when we go later in the deck, but first of all, we have to go over the actual card of the deck that brings it all together, which is the grade 2 set order Monitored Tryst. So when you play this card, like I said, you can play it from the drop zone, so you can discard it for the right deck and other things like your perfect guards and stuff like that. But with it, when you play it, you look at the top 7 cards of your deck and you choose a card from among them, put it face down as an undercover gauge, and then you shuffle your deck. Now, one little thing I will mention with this is that you can put any card there. So if you get to like a weird grind game, you could actually just filter your deck if you don't see any undercover units that you want to call, basically, or you just saw none at all. Because there was actually a game I remember having where I filtered a Surgion out like late game, just so I could have more chance to like drive check a trigger, basically. So it's a very It's a very like weird play, but that is something you can do. It's just that the card that you put there, if it's not an undercover, it will just be sat there and it will do nothing, because the only way you move your undercover gauges is through Mordalion, and Mordalion can only call undercover units. So do bear that in mind. But that is something I thought worth mentioning, because since that is something that you could do theoretically in like a late game scenario. But anyway, yeah, that is basically the main way of the deck, and how it works is that you put your units face down on this, and then you're going to be calling them during the battle phase in a column, basically. So that is how you generate your 5th attack. So we are playing 4 of that. Now, I kind of just showed you the next card of the deck, so we'll just go over it now. 4 copies of Dira. So we all know what this card is. This is the card that Luard was stealing from this deck for a bit. But yeah, this is an undercover card, and it's really good. So when placed, you can counterblast 1, and look at top 5 cards of your deck for an undercover or a Shadow Paladin, and add it to your hand. Gee, I wonder what you can add with that. Could it be, you know, the Shadow Paladin PG, maybe? You could add those to your hand? Pretty good. Also, it's when placed from anywhere, so even when you call these from the like in the battle phase from Mordalion, if you've got the spare CB, you can still do these in the battle phase, and then filter again for an undercover unit, maybe your Persona Ride, for example. That could be pretty important to get to, but also just perfect guards as well to then survive. So yeah. Or maybe you could just like search any undercover pieces that you might want. Maybe you want to dig for like another Obscurate, for example, for the follow-up turn. So she also has another skill, which is when it attacks a grade 3 or greater unit. If you have a Vanguard with undercover name, you can Soul Blast 1 to gain an extra 10k. Now, I will say in this deck, because your Obscurate and your Dira's Soul Blast, your Soul is a little bit finicky at times. You do need to manage the Soul pretty well in here. You do have a little bit of leeway, since you do have a couple of Soul from like the ride line, since they don't really go anywhere. But in the late game, you do need to control your Soul a little bit. However, that was until we got the new card. So this card came from Set 6, DivineZ Set 6. This is Blade of Chase Undercover Genix. So this card gives this deck so much more flexibility now. So it says at the end of the battle that this unit was boosted, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Undercover in the card name, you can pay the cost of put all of your rear guards in the same column as this unit into your soul, draw a card, and then if you did not countercharge this turn, you may pay Energy Blast 3 to countercharge 1. This card's nuts, right? And let me explain. So it's pretty simple, right? Just generally, but this opens up so much in this deck. So first of all, it puts all of the units in the same column into your soul. This is good and bad, but also just good in general, because the units that you're putting into the soul, typically when you're boosting this, it's going to be through Tigris or Sergion, right? Both of those units can bounce back to your hand, or Sergion's case goes to the drop zone, adds a card to your hand with the top 2, right? So yeah, you can avoid putting both of them into the soul, because it doesn't say you have to put 2 cards in. It just says put all of the things in the same column into the soul. So even if this is the only card going in, it still works. Then you get to draw a card, so you then refund this card, right? You get another card back in hand. And then you have the optional skill to Energy Blast 3 to countercharge. So now we are opening the early game up to where if we do a Dira skill early game, and then we are afraid of damage deny for the turn 3, since we do need a counterblast for the Mordalion, this now fixes that problem. Because as long as you're able to boost this, you can now access a countercharge to gain access to the Mordalion counterblast. Also really good. Also, even if this is why this card's nuts, right? Because we need the soul for things like Dira to gain a 10k, and also Obscurate, this gives us more forms of soul charge to access those skills. Absolutely nuts. So even when you're calling something like the grade 1 from the ride line, because I do play extra copies of this in the main deck for this specific reason. This is an undercover name that we could put into the gauge then call out as a booster for something like this. But then even if we lose this to this skill, both of these cards are going into the Soul, which we could then use to fund the Soul Blast skills of your Obscadade and your Dyra skills to get the Drive Check and the 10k power. Like, this card is nuts. Like, it's so simple, yet it provides so much to the deck. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. And the fact it's a counter charger as well is like, come on, man. It's so good. So thank you for making this card, Bushrod. Thank you. This card is amazing. And you're damn right I'm playing 4 copies of them, because I want to see it. I want to refill my hand. I want access to the counter charge. Yeah, crazy stuff. Now, before we move on from the grade 2s, there is technically one more. I am playing a twin cast in this deck, because we do want to be using the Monitor Trist from turn 2 to turn 4. So a Blitz Order is fine. But this card's also just great because it's great discard fodder. It guards twice, which is nuts. I'm not surprised this card went up in price, but the good thing is this did get he's going to get a reprint, I think, in one of the new starter decks coming out. I think it's the one with I think it's the Stoic one, but yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I do play that in the deck because yeah, the defensive value is nice and it's just a generally good card, so that's why we play it. Right, so I'm done. I'm done. Just absolutely done. Glazing that card. You can understand why I really like that card. It does so much with the deck. Now, for the rest of the deck, pretty simple stuff. For grade 1s, we have for Sergion because we're playing an order. We play on every turn 2, turn 3, turn 4. So this is always going to be live for the most part. And also, we're a pretty heavy Regard deck. So even if we don't play an order, we can probably get Sergion to be active anyway. So yeah. Don't really need to explain Sergion. We all know it's a good card. Also, RIP Reziel. This recently just got choice restricted with it, which, by the way, deserved, because this card's absurd in Reziel, and it deserved to be hit. Anyway, moving on, we have Tigress. Tigress is also good. Again, this is another card that Luard kind of utilized for a bit, but it's basically a 10k shield by shuffling another Undercover from your drop zone back into the deck. So this gives us the deck more recoverability, because you're able to put your Obscadades back in, for example, since those are pretty important to keep in rotation. Where the hell is he? There he is. Being able to put these back into your deck, if you end up calling any to the Regard circles, or if you end up using up any. He puts himself to the bottom, but just having that extra ability to recycle stuff, even Dira. Dira's a good one to recycle. Find these from the top 7 of your deck or whatever with the Mordalion to then call from in the battle phase to then filter for more PGs. Also good. So yeah, probably a better target to be fair, but sue me. So yeah. But just general recyclability with this card's nice. 10k shield's good. And yeah, it's able to bounce itself back to the hand for an Energy Blast of 2, which is great. It means that we don't have to risk calling a board and then losing it, since we can just bounce this stuff back. So yeah, Sergion and the Tigress, really, really good grade 1s for the deck. Like I said already, I played 2 extra copies of the right deck grade 1 because the Undercover name can actually be quite important. And also, this isn't too terrible. It is a 10k that can technically, pair up with a grade 1 to get boosted by. So, if you have a Sergion in the back that this can get boosted by, that's also pretty decent. At least then you can access the 5th attack, use the Sergion to then boost, and then make it 23. That's fine. But yeah, mostly it's there for the flexibility to boost the Genix so that you have the ability to get the 2 extra soul to then pay for skills like Obscadade and the Dira. So yeah, good stuff there. And then the final grade 1 is 4 copies of the Shadow Paladin PG, because we can get these from Dira, from the top 5 check. So yeah, I just wanted to play 4 of them, because the fact that we can filter for a PG in this deck as well, good stuff. So I didn't bother with Elementaria. You can play if you want to, but because I've got the Twin Cast in the deck as well anyway, I felt like I was good. So that was fine. Anyway, so that's it for the grade 1s. So moving on, we have the triggers. So first of all, we have the OT. I decided to go for blue OT just because I felt like it was the most easy one to go with. The crit pressure is good. One thing I will mention actually with the blue OT is that with the Vanguard swing is going to typically be the weakest attack until you get to your turn 4. This is going to be swinging for 13. So with this deck, this actually matters when it comes to the trigger lineup here. So The OT is obviously pretty good because the extra crit pressure can make this attack just, lethal, 100 million, blah, blah, blah. But just generally in this deck, you kind of just want to keep the pressure up as much as you can. So even though this attack is going to be pretty weak, the crit pressure of this just escalates it that much more. Which is also why I am playing 8 crits in this deck, because we just want to keep pressuring with crits. We have, 3 drive checks technically, because we've got the 2 from the Vanguard and the 1 from the Obscured. So being able to control, alright, well, I'll attack with this, you're at 4. If I rip a crit here, you die. Oh, you block it, okay. Well, I'll just transfer the crits to the Obscured. Now you're going to die anyway. Oh, you block that one. Alright, drive check with the Obscured. Oh, look, a crit. Alright, I'll put that to the other rear guard. Oh, look, Deer is getting more power. Yeah, so the crits do go a long way in this deck. And also, you can punish the opponent pretty well with the next trigger, which is 3 front triggers. Because one thing I love doing is when I attack with a small number like 13k with this, they optimally will put a 15k guard down, making it a 2 to pass. If you see a front trigger and then see a crit, oh boy, that not only just feels bad for the opponent, but you just take like a massive lead at that point. And the reason why I like the fronts in this deck is that you can pretty much like control the board in which that you will pretty much have like a front row that can benefit from the front trigger, whether if you attack with like the Obscured first or the Mordalion. At least 2 of your units or 3 of your units will benefit from the front. And also, I do think the 20k shield in this is like quite relevant because with the deck, with the game being quite fast, I feel like having more defensive options like this is pretty important as well. So yeah. And then the final trigger of the deck is the 4 heals. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Went for these artworks just because I felt like it was the most darker one, I guess. I mean, all the Keter heals look kind of light colored, so yeah, purple hair, purple themed deck, I guess. So yeah, that's that. Anyway, that is it for Mordalion. So yeah, this deck, as you can tell, it's I like it a lot. It is very, very fun. And this card just honestly changed the face of this deck to just actually be a bit of a contender. I have actually noticed recently this deck has been doing more and more well recently in events. So yeah, this deck is getting a bit more recognition. So hopefully I've given you guys a bit of food to feast on with this deck and my thoughts on it as well. Anyway, that's it. Going to do it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next video. This is Guardian, signing out.